Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining the live webinar. If you're on the software, Zoom software, then please, by all means, ask some questions. If you're watching this as a recording on YouTube, then please get in touch. There's some details at the end of this presentation, so you'll be able to contact us to ask any questions. I've got a little bit of a cough, so it might be a little bit annoying, but hopefully we can get through this. Today's webinar is on plan your finances around your bucket list. So really about bucket list financial planning and how to build that into your life and how you can achieve all of those goals, how you can afford it, and making sure that you realize your dreams as they. So what is bucket list planning? Well, I mean, I think it's a lot of, you still need to do all the retirement, school fees, the life insurance and everything else that goes with that. But it's doing the things that you want to do. So if you want to go traveling, if you want to take a year out, if you wanted to start a business, how much does it cost and how do you build that into your life? So, and then your bucket list is very individual. So goals, events, moments, experiences. It's really down to your individual choice, but it's really about life over money. It's a very cliche way of saying it, but it is a case of, well, what do you want to do and how do you afford to do that? And we'll take you through some of the planning that we do for people, how we build in some of these events or moments, and how do we show that you can afford to do it, retire earlier, etc. All of that good stuff that people want to achieve. As an expat, you've probably done a lot of traveling. You've moved from one country to another. You may be ticking off some of the boxes already when it comes to your bucket list. So most expats understand, okay, they need to plan because they're in a different country and eventually they'll need to return to their home country or maybe retire to another one. So generally, the bucket list planning isn't necessarily a far distant dream. It's something that most people are thinking to doing or already doing it at the moment. It's just how do you plan it with your finances? We've got a couple of suggestions for the bucket list. There's a couple here. The first one is complete a significant fee to learn it. I'll go back. So if you want to learn a language or a practical skill or an instrument, taking a year out to do a master's degree or a university course, how do you build that into the fact that you might not be earning for a year, or you might want to do an MBA? How much is that going to cost? Will that impact your future earnings? How can that help you with the planning? We'll show you that, okay, maybe taking a year out, what's your expenses going to be? How's that going to impact your retirement? We can show you how that would work. There we go, that's what I wanted to show. Do something extreme. So if you need to climb a tallest peak or jump out of an airplane, how much it costs? Do you build that into the plan? Do you need to take time off in order to do that? A lot of people talk about climbing Everest, for instance, but it still costs $70,000 to at least to get there, the last time I looked. And you're going to take a good couple of months off in order to do training and eventually the climb. Another one is a lot of travel experiences. So set foot on every continent is always one that everyone seems to talk about. When we researched this webinar, we were looking at different ways, different types of suggestions for bucket lists, and a lot of these came up. The travel one is obviously a big one, or a physical endurance. Again, it's planning. Do you need to take time off to do the ultra style marathon or a triathlon, or are you going to take 3 months off in order to travel an entire region? So it's understanding, well, how's that going to impact your finances? How much does it cost? Do you need to save for it? Would it be offset against saving for something else, such as retirement or buying a house or something like that? So it depends. The other example here is having a sub list. So, visiting every UNESCO World Heritage Site. Doing some research on this, it is very interesting what people's individual bucket lists are, but it is individual. That's the thing I have noticed. And some people just might not find these very interesting at all. completing a triathlon for me isn't really what I would say, or maybe traveling through an entire region. So it's down to the individual that is important. Got a couple more here. A lot of it, so for instance, doing something romantically mundane is a moment, but it depends how expensive that is. And do you need to save for it? Do you need to tick it off the list? Say the list is important. There was a company called Morningstar did a bit of research, and they came up with a master list. So there are 17 different thoughts, I think, on thoughts, about what people really want to do when it comes to their finances. And generally it comes down to a lot of these. And you can see some of these are bucket lists. So dream holiday, retire earlier, start a business, buy a house. There's also some of the conventional financial planning parts is, give to charity, relocate in retirement. As an expat, you probably that's going to happen at some point. Either you're going to move to another country or return to your home country. Leave an inheritance to loved ones, or paying for self-improvement, which is doing your education or learning a new instrument or something along those lines. So it does come down to having this list and then doing the planning around it. So when we do this planning, it is sort of financial forecasting, and it is pretty sort of straightforward in what we do. It's just how you present it and play about with it. So you still need current assets, liabilities, you need your income expenditure, those goals, those aspirations, what's going to happen in the future, including some of the economic conditions, which is very difficult to predict, but you can sort of map it and then identify those shortfalls and surpluses. So if you took a year out, how that impacts in the future if you didn't have an income for a year. And then it's exploring these what-if strategies. So exploring, okay, I wanted to do an MBA. So that means I've got to pay for the course, not earn for a year, but will it help me in the future with greater income? So when we run through the numbers, you can see that we've got a timeline here with a particular sort of pre-retirement, retirement, and then the bottom graph, it's someone's earnings every year. Black line is their expenditure, and you can see into retirement there's a shortfall, which is the red. If I was to add some bucket lists or some points that people want to do in the future, so we've got this case study, Charles and Anna, retirement, pre-retirement, slow down, retire at 65, but they're thinking about buying a holiday home, buying a boat, retiring earlier. Their light bulb moment was, or you want to buy a home, you want to buy the boat, but we want to retire earlier. We want to retire at 60. So when we planned it, we put all of those assets, liabilities, all of the income expenditure into it, and we've shown that, all right, there's a big capital outlay at 57, which is they're buying the house, they're buying a boat, but it's not going to impact their retirement. They can still retire at the rate that they want. When we're doing what we call a financial snapshot, you can see that within the graph, you've got the capital outlay. Time and spending is still set. They know what investment return they need to make every year in order to make sure there isn't a shortfall. So the plan is that they can achieve what they want to do. They can buy the boat, they can retire to the holiday home, you can enjoy it. The list is the key. So the behavioural side, sorry, it comes down to the fact that if you've got a goal-based plan and you've got a list and you understand what your key goals are, making this list means that you'll be able to hit those goals. And that's always been the case. but it does show that when we go back to those master lists, that was the most important thing about the planning. So write down what your bucket list is, and if you want help in terms of planning, that's where we can add some value to you. Is that we will plan your life out and see whether or not you can hit those goals earlier. So get in touch. Those are the details there. Go to the website, and we'll see if we can help you. So thank you very much. I'll speak to you soon.